Welcome. We're so happy you're all here with us. There will be more time in our session today for us to converse and share. I'll go ahead and get back into this presentation. The Food Justice Community Action Plan Initiative was directed by the County of San Diego Board of Supervisors in June of this year, with direction for the plan to include actions the county may take in coming years to address challenges of food access and food insecurity in the San Diego region. The board also directed that the action plan be informed by community, including stakeholders, service providers, community leaders, farmers, and others. Although the county's Office of Sustainability and Environmental Justice was tasked with managing development of the plan, we are working in close collaboration with county departments such as Public Health Services, Self-Sufficiency Services, and Agriculture Weights and Measures. So the Office of Sustainability and Environmental Justice is a new office. It was formed at the direction of the Board of Supervisors in 2021. The office works to support all communities in the region by efficiently using and effectively protecting natural resources, balancing economic growth, and ensuring just and equitable provision of public services without compromising the ability of future generations to also flourish and thrive. To do this, the office centers on community engagement and participation, with the goal to better understand community-identified priorities that would then inform county programs, policies, and practices. We also work in coordination with county departments, such as those represented here today, as these departments have different programs and touch points within our food systems. Here's a timeline of the milestones for developing the Food Justice Community Action Plan. On the left, you'll see the date of board direction was June 4th of this year. Next, you'll see that we held community roundtables through September to hear from communities and collect input. In September, we provided an update to the board to share how we're doing and our approach for developing the plan. Today, we're holding a session here as an opportunity to connect and hear from you all. We have analyzed much of the community input received thus far, and we'll be incorporating your feedback received today into that plan. We are preparing a draft action plan this month in collaboration and informed by other county departments as well, like Self-Sufficiency Services and Public Health Services. The plan will identify actions that the county may take in coming years to address challenges of food access and food insecurity. The draft action plan will be posted on the Engage website for public review. However, it will be a pretty short window of about 1 week for that public review so that we can prepare all of the final documents and present it to the Board of Supervisors this December. This is overall a pretty short window of time needed to collect input and collaborate with county departments to develop the action plan. With this, we emphasize that the action plan will not be comprehensive. Rather, it will identify some key priorities and actions the county may do in the coming years and recognizes that more will need to be done. In our approach to develop the action plan, community and stakeholder input is central, and it's why we're here today. To help ground us within the scope of the Food Justice Community Action Plan, we're sharing on this slide one way to describe food justice, in which it's described as being met when everybody has access to healthy and culturally relevant foods in sufficient amount to sustain a healthy life with full dignity. As you may know, this definition is from the San Diego County Food Vision 2030, which was published in 2021 and compiled with stakeholder input from the San Diego region. This is one way to describe food justice. We welcome your thoughts on this as well. During our group activities and discussions, there will be opportunity for you to share your thoughts for what you would like to see included for addressing issues of food justice, as well as any elements that define food justice for you. In our approach for engaging with community and structuring our group discussions at the community roundtables, we built upon existing efforts such as Food Vision 2030 and identified 5 themes. These 5 themes were Collaboration, including government, community-based organizations, and private interests working together. Food programs, including better access to food options from government programs, charitable organizations, and school meals. Food education, including investments in food nutrition programs. Food as medicine, including support for breastfeeding. And root causes, including ways to provide economic support. To help promote the community roundtables and opportunity for community input, we worked with various county departments and programs to share the information through their channels and networks, and passed out flyers, as well as asked partnering community-based organizations to share the information, and used emails and social media posts to spread the word. We also joined in on various existing meetings, like the Live Well South Region Food Insecurity Working Group, Edible Food Recovery Working Group, and San Diego Food System Alliance Stewardship Committee. From August to October, we focused on engagement and outreach with the goal of reaching communities and individuals with lived experiences. We held 6 community roundtables across the region, which were attended by 107 participants who were community members, representatives from local government, and community organizations. In terms of representation at the roundtables, about half identified as community members or did not associate with an organization or group, and about 1/3 were associated with food banks, hubs, and pantries, or community nonprofits, charities, and faith or advocacy-based organizations. Over the last 3 months, we've received over 1,200 comments, ideas, and shared experiences at the community roundtables, as well as virtually. We've also had over 12,000 visits to the Food Justice Community Action Plan County Engage website. We've analyzed the bulk of the community input received thus far, and we're able to group ideas, perspectives, and shared experiences into 6 broad topic areas shown on the screen. These objectives are capacity, in terms of ideas and opportunities to support and scale up existing food access and food security efforts in the region, as well as asset building for communities. Culture, in terms of supporting food sovereignty, looking at county culture or policy, and improving knowledge on the important ways that food impacts our communities and region. Connectivity, in terms of transportation needs and barriers across the region for connecting food sources and access points to communities and people in need, including connectivity of food recovery organizations. Safety nets, in terms of public support programs to support public health, including CalFresh, and other food and financial support programs. Process, in terms of how we can meaningfully engage with communities and individuals and share information for transparent operations and decision-making so that communities and individuals have opportunity to understand and participate in shaping decisions. And lastly, preparedness, in terms of developing emergency response plans to include plans for communities to be provided food during and after emergencies. This also includes the view expressed by many that in addition to being prepared for future emergencies or crises, that there is a current food crisis. You'll notice posters are reflecting these objectives are positioned around the room. These objectives will structure our session conversations today. In the next several slides, I'll share each of these community-informed objectives in a bit more detail to provide some examples of actions within each objective, as well as introduce you to the facilitator who will be supporting discussion and note-taking at each of the objective posters today. We'll begin with capacity. This reflects community input for better supporting current efforts in the region to strengthen and improve access to these regional and community food production resources. For example, input indicated there are needs and opportunities for more community gardens. This can include actions to identify new garden locations and new ways to support community-led gardens. Broad funding support for communities and organizations who are doing the work. This can include actions to connect local, state, and federal funding. More ways to support local agriculture and fishing industries, including public spaces for production, aggregation, and distribution, and more resources and access to cold storage, and more support for edible food recovery across the region. This can include actions to help these organizations scale up operations to be able to collect and store more food, including access to cold storage and support across jurisdictions. The facilitator with this objective is Megan. Next, within the culture objective, community input centered on improving regional food sovereignty, policy, and knowledge. For example, input indicated there are needs and opportunities to advocate for creation of regional funds that are accessible across the region, because challenges of food access and food insecurity don't necessarily coincide with jurisdictions. Actions to ensure alignment of the Food Justice Community Action Plan with the county legislative program, and more action to advance food sovereignty, including support for culturally relevant seed bank programs, support for home gardening in apartment settings, and public education of locally grown, culturally relevant, healthy food preparation and cooking classes. The facilitators for this objective are Bing and Rebecca. Next, the connectivity objective focuses on transportation needs and barriers across the region for connecting food sources and access points to communities and people in need, including connectivity of food recovery organizations. Transportation barriers tended to center on needs to overcome physical distances, including for individuals facing hunger. There may be opportunities to meet these needs through public transportation and meal delivery services. Regarding funding, we heard that while there may be available funding, it may be very difficult for communities and organizations to apply for and administer, as well as very limited in terms of activities approved for funding. We also heard ideas for supporting regional coordination and connectivity through the development of new ways to better support regional connection and coordination of food recovery and distribution. The facilitator for this objective is Ariel. Next, the safety nets objective focused on support programs for public health, including CalFresh and other food and financial support programs. For example, input indicated there are needs and opportunities to assess Health and Human Services Agency programs in terms of denial rates and utilization of benefits for CalFresh, CalAIM, and Sunbucks, and then to share assessment data with the public in order to help organizations and others to be better informed on eligibility requirements and ways to successfully apply for aid. Community input also indicated a desire for more staff available to answer phone calls and to meet with residents to explain benefits and application processes. Input also indicated need and opportunity to increase support for expanding availability of CalFresh at farmers markets. And there was also interest in expanding use and access of medically tailored meals and implementation of a food as medicine or food pharmacy concept to supplement and fund healthy food and meals for individuals. The facilitator in this objective is Claudia. Next, the process objective focuses on community input that's centered on ways to meaningfully engage with communities so they have opportunity to understand and participate in shaping decisions. For example, input indicated there are needs and opportunities to cultivate long-term community relationships, including efforts to increase language access and to hear more from historically underrepresented communities. Needs and opportunities also centered on ways to improve transparency and understanding of community processes, ways to address barriers to community participation, including transportation barriers and costs, and ways to engage or collaborate more with jurisdictions to improve processes that impact food access and food security across the region. The facilitator in this objective is Bethany. Lastly, the sixth objective, located back deck there, is focused on preparedness. Input within this objective centered on needs for developing emergency response plans that include a focus on ways people and vulnerable communities especially will be fed in times of emergency, as well as addressing any current food insecurity as a crisis. The facilitator with this objective is Charles. From all of the community input we've received across our various engagement activities, we've developed a library of community-informed actions. These actions, or the action library, is organized broadly by objective and grouped into 25 action categories shown on the slide here, and represents the same information we just reviewed for each objective. Within each category, there are a range of potential actions, all based on community input, which represents 86 unique potential actions. These actions are reflected on each of the objective posters here today as well. Today, we're hoping to share this information with you to receive your input on the different community identified actions and hear your ideas. You'll see that each poster has the following same set of questions. Through the lens of creativity, what can be added or refined, and what is something that hasn't been thought of before? Through the lens of clarity, what is needed to bring more clarity to this, and what details might be missing? Through the lens of content, do the actions resonate with you? And through the lens of mobilization, what are measurable outcomes and signs of success? For this next part of the session, you'll have opportunity to visit each of the posters to review the objectives in more detail and discuss with facilitators and others. You're free to choose the poster you would like to begin with, and we do encourage you to rotate and visit each of the posters here today. If needed, we will ask the group to rotate to a new poster at least once every 15 minutes. Each poster has the same question prompts as well as paper on the table to provide space to document your input. Before you move to your poster, please take a moment to check that you still have those 3 small river stones. Hold on to those for now. They'll be part of our closing activity. And after our 45-minute group discussion and activity, we'll have our 10-minute closing activity, and then we'll come back and have a few presentation slides at the very end. So I'll go ahead and let y'all go to your posters. So now that we've gone over the summary of community input and potential actions, I wanted to take a moment to talk about what the draft county actions will look like. As we develop the draft action plan in the coming weeks, we're working with county departments to identify potential actions that are drafted based on the community identified actions that we shared today. This slide shows the type of information that is shaping each of those potential county actions. You'll see here that we're including details on the action itself with a brief description, identification of roles for county departments as well as other partners, a timeline for completion, including short, which would be 1 year or less, medium, 2 to 3 years, and long, more than 3 years, as well as outcomes to communicate action goals and areas of impact, and any resources needed to complete the action. The draft action plan will include a number of proposed county actions with this level of detail. Our goal is for the action plan to reflect your ideas and priorities, and we hope to stay engaged with you throughout this process. There will be opportunity for you to review the draft action plan online, which will be accessible through the QR code and link on this slide. We'll be incorporating the remaining community input and feedback through today into that draft and anticipate it to be posted online early November. We'll also send out an email notification to all those who've participated in the Food Justice Community Action Plan outreach process to notify when the draft action plan is posted on the Engage website for your review. We'll then review the feedback and revise that draft action plan later in November based on your input, and then present it to the Board of Supervisors at a December board hearing. For that December hearing, there will be opportunity also for you to provide a comment virtually or in person. And the staff report to the board will include a summary of community input, as well as the proposed county actions. With that, I thank you so very much for participating and joining us today to contribute your ideas. I'll pause here for any last questions, remarks, or if anyone has any reflections for today's session. Everyone's satiated from today's events. Me too. Thank y'all so much.